You are listening to the Million Dollar Coach Business Podcast with Amanda Karlstad, episode number 224. Welcome to the Million Dollar Coach Business Podcast, a show for coaches who are ready to uplevel their business and take their impact, leadership, and results to $1 million level and beyond. If you're ready to break through your limitations and start taking powerful action and become the seven-figure version of you that your business needs in order to grow, scale, and thrive, this show is for you. I'm your host, Amanda Karlstad, master coach, high-level business mentor and advisor, master intuitive, and business growth and scaling expert. Let's get down to business. Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to today's show. I have a very special guest that I am so thrilled and so excited to be bringing to you today. Today's episode is an example of what's possible client interview with my client, Dr. Vanessa Calderon. Dr. Calderon is a board-certified emergency medicine physician, a resiliency expert, and a certified professional coach. She has 20 years of leadership experience and has an active clinical practice. She is the wellness champion and resiliency director of Vituity, a national multi-specialty physician organization and a member of the Green Cross Academy of Traumatology. She is a certified compassion fatigue educator and therapist and a recognized positive neuroplasticity trainer. Dr. Calderon is a masterful educator and founder of iCareMD, the Institute for Compassion, Awareness, Empathy, and Resiliency in Medicine. She has spent over half a decade reconnecting healthcare providers to their original purpose in medicine through education and professional coaching. Dr. Calderon is not only a physician, a certified professional coach and resiliency expert, she also helps people create wholehearted success they can be proud of. And I have to say, I so enjoyed this conversation with Vanessa. This was such a powerful conversation that you're about to hear around the power of coaching, the power of commitment, the power of service, all of the things that we talk about each and every week on this podcast. And I'm so excited to bring you today's episode for you to hear Vanessa's journey, to get an inside look at it from when we started working together, when she was questioning whether or not she wanted to even build her business, to now her being in a place where she is on her way to seven figures and is in a place now where it's inevitable for her. It is such an honor to have facilitated and to have walked with and been witness to Vanessa's growth, to the intense business transformation, and also to the huge personal transformation that Vanessa has experienced as well. And you're going to hear all about this in this episode. We covered so much ground. And I just want to say I'm so proud of Vanessa and the work that she has done and the important impact that she's now able to create with her own clients inside of her group program that you're going to hear all about. She was able to develop that and launch that and has now grown that in our time together. And we talk in depth about what has really led to her success. I know you're going to learn just a ton from today's conversation. And my hope is that in this interview, you also see what's possible for you and that you know that whatever goal you might have, whatever level that you want to reach in your business, I want you to know that it's 100% possible for you too. So with that, let's go ahead and dive into today's show. I'm so excited to welcome Dr. Vanessa Calderon to the show. Welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you, Amanda. And thank you for being so intentional about how you pronounced my name. That was so beautiful.
Yeah. Side note, I was much more fluent many years ago in Spanish.
Awesome.
Not so much anymore. It's been a long time since I've spoken, but I still have it. I still have it there, which is fun.
Awesome.
All right, Vanessa, before we dive into all of the great things, why don't you take a minute and introduce yourself? Tell us about you and the type of work that you do.
So I'm Vanessa Calderon. I work specifically with really smart women and help them overcome generational and ancestral trauma and other internalized systems of oppression so that they are free to get more done in less time and really live and achieve their purpose. So that's what I do.
So good. Such good work. And we're going to dive into so many good things here. Okay. So, Vanessa, when we started working together, this was probably about 2 years ago at this point. We're recording this in December of 2023. I remember one of our first conversations. And I think in that conversation that you were at a point in your business where you wanted to give up.
Yeah.
Where I think you literally said, I don't know if I want to do this.
Girl, oh my gosh. It's so funny. My background is, coming from a place of very high achievement. I'm a physician by training, and not just a physician. I was also a physician leader, leading big hospital systems, departments, and I've been doing that work for a long time. And I was really good at achieving and getting A's and, making people really proud of me. And it turns out that those skills do not help you in entrepreneurship. And so when I decided to become an entrepreneur, it was before I had met you, Amanda. I had set these big, audacious goals because I also love to set really big goals and achieve them. And, prior to becoming an entrepreneur, I had that identity and I still do have that identity that I can achieve anything, but I had this identity that I can set a big goal, go to work, and no matter what, I'm going to achieve it. I would set timelines and do all those things. And so I did that with my business, and it did not work that way. And so right before I had met you, it was my very first year in entrepreneurship. And, it was a year of, it's funny to say that year was radical transformation because every year since then has been an incredible year of radical transformation. So that feels like such a blip compared to where I am now. But that year was my first year of dipping my toe in this game of entrepreneurship. And I had made a huge pivot in my career. I had, retired my physician leadership roles, and I was all in. I was committed and I was ready to do this work in entrepreneurship. And I set these really big goals. And what I learned really quickly is how much I effing hated to fail, or at least the perception of fail. And I knew that before, but when you interface with entrepreneurship, you've got to really create peace with the concept of failure. And I hadn't done that yet. And so when I created these big goals, it came to like the end of the year in December, and I was in this space feeling something I had never felt before. I was feeling disappointment at a level that was like, whew, just like almost not depression necessarily. I'm not someone that, experiences depression, but I just remember being in my room, in my bed, not wanting to get out and binging on so many things. Like I watched every episode of Succession, all three, I think there was like 3 series out at the time, or 3 different seasons. And I watched each one. And I think I had set up a consult with you because I was kind of like on the fence of getting back into the game, but I was like, damn, I don't know if I want to do that again. This sucks. This is so hard. It's so, and I remember telling myself like, why am I doing this? It's so much easier what I was doing before. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And I remember finally getting off. It was like rolling around towards the end of December, coming to January. And I asked myself, I was like, okay, Vanessa, what is it that you want to do? Because you do not have to do this. You can go back and do what you were doing before. You get to decide.
Right.
Once I gave myself permission to quit if I wanted to, or not quit if I didn't want to, I was finally like, all right, fine, I'll get back in the game.
Yeah.
And that's when I did my consult with you. And I was like, oh, I remember feeling like, all right, here we go. Like, I'm not quitting. I'm all in. Let's do it. And that's when we met.
So good. So good. I remember that so vividly. And I think about that a lot. I don't know, for some reason that conversation flashes on me a lot when we do our coaching. And I think it's just because it is such a completely, like, your experience now and where your business is at, which we're going to get to in a minute, is in such a completely different place. And you're in such a completely different place yourself. And to be able to really witness that over the last couple of years has been just such a great honor, and just amazing to see that in real time. And, that's one of the reasons I just love that I get to do what I get to do, because I get to witness all of these amazing transformations, both in the business, but also personally. I mean, you've gone on a very personal, transformative journey as well that I'm sure we'll get into along with all of the business stuff. So thank you for sharing that, because I think a lot of people can resonate with feeling a very similar way. And I would say, when I look at all of my clients, I mean, being in my container, everybody is wonderful and successful and knows how to create success in their life and has done that to a degree that, most people would look at and say, why on earth would you want to start a business? Why on earth would you want to become a coach? Why on earth would you want to give up a career that you have worked so hard for? And, especially going through all of the training, all of the education that you have. I mean, that is no small thing. And so I do want to acknowledge that, because that I think is very real for many people that are coming into this industry or already in this industry and are really committed to doing their legacy work like you, and committed to doing this important work of coaching, and also have all of these amazing achievements on their resume. And I just want to thank you for sharing that, because I think a lot of people listening right now can also relate to what you were sharing. So thank you.
Yeah. It's funny. You said you remember that conversation. You know what I remember from that conversation? Besides feeling like, what I remember is the belief that you had and the belief that you held from that moment to like every moment, every second that we worked together. And, as a coach, I know how important it is to have that belief in our students and in our clients, especially because I think the beauty of this work is you get to hold that belief even when your student or your client doesn't see it for themselves, because you really do see their greatness, and what I remember from that conversation is how for you, it was like so obvious of what I was going to do or what I was going to be achieving. And you were like, oh yeah, of course you're going to do that. Oh yeah. And I remember thinking like, okay. And I thought you were a little cuckoo, crazy, but I was like willing to go in,
Right. I love that. Thank you for sharing that, because that brings up, now that you say that, one of the things, and I've talked a little bit about this before, but one of the things that I don't really talk a ton about, that I do want to just make a point, because I do think it's really relevant here, is that I'm highly intuitive. And so when I meet with, whether it's new clients or we're on a consult call, or, we're 2 years into our coaching relationship and we're having a coaching conversation or just a conversation, I am continually getting downloads. I am continually, like, my work, I believe one of my greatest strengths is seeing the highest version of my clients and seeing them in their true brilliance and seeing them in their true greatness. And I can remember, now that you brought that up very vividly, I can see it still, the vision that I had in that moment of you. And I won't go into all of the details, and I shared that with you, but you kind of fast forwarded a few years to doing some really big things and leading a lot of people. And I know that when I see those things, I know when those things come to me, I know when that's happening, that is truth. And I know that is 100% possible. And I also know and recognize that you can't see that. And I also recognize that you also don't always believe me when I say it.
What makes you think that?
Right. And that's okay. And that's totally okay. But I do take that really seriously. Like, when I see the possibility, when I see clients like you in your greatness, in that highest version, I do hold on to that. And I really do try to hold that for you, because I think that's so important, because there are so many obstacles in this journey and so many challenges and so many things that we have to overcome, all of us. And so I think having somebody that can really be that person to hold that and truly believe in you and see that and know that is already a done deal, we just have to do the work to do that, is a very powerful thing. So thank you for bringing that up. Thank you.
Yeah, I think what you just mentioned about your intuitive gift, I think that's a superpower that you hold among many others, but I think that's an incredible superpower. And for those of you listening, there's a million different ways to create businesses, a million different coaches out there, and you've really got to find the one that really resonates with you. And I do think, Amanda, that one of your superpowers is your ability to lean into intuition. I remember, like, after retreats, for example, when you would share downloads that you had with all of us, and you were like right on the money with everybody, right? Like nail on the head. And we're just like, holy smokes, and I just think that, I think that is a huge gift. And I just feel so blessed that you've practiced and honed it, and among everything else that you've been able to create, so that you can share it with us.
Yeah. Well, thank you. There's a lot to be said about that. That's like, I feel like a whole different conversation, but I will say that is something that's always, and I share this with clients and haven't really talked about this much on the podcast, but I do share with all of my clients, like any type of coaching we're doing, whether it's a group call, whether it's a one-on-one call, that is always present. Always any type of coaching that I'm doing or even recommendations that I'm giving is coming from a place of, yes, experience and expertise, but it's also coming from a very intuitive place. And so it's always happening. And honestly, I don't even really think about it right now. It's just what happens. So to kind of put that into why is that relevant for everyone? I think one of the things as a coach is to find what is unique about yourself, right? So we all have different gifts that we are able to bring. And I think when I look at your progression over the last couple of years, Vanessa, I think that has been one of the reasons why your business is at where it's at today, is really starting to lean into those gifts, that message and the work, your true work and the importance of that and being willing to step into that level of yourself.
I think that what you just said, if you didn't just pick up on all that, if you're listening, I'd recommend going back 30 seconds and just re-listening to what Amanda just said, because I do think that right there is the key to everyone living their purpose in life, which is finding your soul unique gift. And it can sound a little bizarre, but if you're listening to this podcast and you have an entrepreneurial bent and you know you want to create something in the world, what's going to make you unique is when you hone into what it is that you're holding inside of you and you give that back to the world, as opposed to trying to compete with somebody else by being the way they are, or, doing things the way you've seen other people do it. All of those ways, I think, are the way people start when they don't have a clear vision or a lot of courage or confidence into what they're building, and I did it too. And I just have to say that the more I think about my growth and every time I've evolved and how much faster my business has grown and where I'm going, for the next year, 5 years, 10 years, the more that I lean into my own unique personal gifts in life and what it is that I'm doing and my own power and how I'm contributing to the world, the faster my business grows. And so the big question is, how do you find your purpose? How do you find your gift? Right. And I do think that's the work everyone is here to do. You're here to do two things, I think: heal whatever karmic burden you were given at birth, whatever that is. A lot of people's fear of abandonment, fear of whatever, fear of insufficiency, fear of never being enough, whatever it is. And then as you're healing, the more you heal, the more you get to come into your own and give back to the world and make the world a better place. And I just am so grateful, honestly, Amanda, that you have given me so much space to do that, because I worked with you specifically building a business, but building a business is not just about building a business. It's about really elevating and evolving your soul so that your business can be aligned with your soul's purpose. At least that's been my experience. And so, you can't do that in all containers unless the container has been created for you to be able to do that. And I'm so grateful that is what you have built. And that's what I just stepped into.
Oh, thank you. That's such an important distinction. And thank you for bringing that up, because that is really, again, at the heart of everything we're doing. Any strategy we're talking about, any funnel we're talking about, I mean, even ads, right? All of the technical things that we can get into. And I want to go back to something you said about, so often we try to just copy maybe what somebody else is doing or model. And I think there is a point where it's good to model certain things and there's best practices. But at the end of the day, what is really going to create the momentum and really set you apart from anyone else that's doing the same type of coaching is going to be your unique gifts. It's going to be leaning into that and really figuring that out. And that is part of, I feel like it's this process of alchemy, really. It's like business alchemy, where we're kind of looking at, who are you, right? What's the story? What are you here to do? What are those strengths and how do we bring all of that together so that you can really step into that fullest purpose and step into that highest version of you? Which is funny because I've been told I know I'm an alchemist by nature. I think so. Again, it's just a natural thing that happens in my work. So let's talk a little bit about, just so people have a really good idea. So you started, when you and I started working together, I think you were coaching some one-on-one clients or
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think you had a few one-on-one clients,
I
right?
think I had only been doing one-on-one when I met you.
Okay. So one-on-one clients, and then what happened?
I knew that I had a humongous vision when I first decided to become a coach, humongous vision. I didn't even want to coach one-on-one. Everyone said, you got to start with one-on-one. So I was like, oh, I guess I got to start with one-on-one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though like all of the rules are made up and you can do whatever you want to do. You don't have to follow some path. So anyway, I started coaching one-on-one, and honestly, it was awesome and a gift. And I'm glad that I did it. And I learned a ton, and I loved my students so much, and I was able to help them significantly. And I really honed my craft, but I knew I wanted to do more. And so when I came to you, I said, listen, I want to start a program. Like, that's what I want to do. I want to start a group program. And I knew I wanted to make it evergreen. And I had this really clear timeline in my head. Now that I say timeline, I kind of laugh a little bit because timelines are so silly, right? It's great to have them, great to be directed by something, but know that you can't get attached to a timeline because timelines are just made up. So anyway, I had this really clear timeline. And so I went to work to create a group program, and I launched it with an idea of what I was going to teach, but I didn't have the set curriculum. I got 2 students in my first launch, and it was totally organic. I just kind of was on Facebook, just posting about it. I didn't even really have an active Instagram account or anything. And I had like, I don't even know, like 5 or 6 people come to a live webinar. And from that small group of people, I had 2 people enroll. I had a super small mailing list. I think there was like 45 people on my mailing list or something like that. And anyway, it turned out it worked because I had 2 people and they came into my program, and I developed the curriculum while I was teaching them. And I was so afraid, like looking back, I see how like I showed up. That level of fear that I had, it really blocked me from accessing my real like gifts in this world. I was able to, I gave them results, and I was able to do a lot, and I taught, and it was wonderful. And the testimonials I got were beautiful, and it was incredible. And I look back and I'm like, wow, so interesting. Like, who I am today is so different than who I was then. So I immediately, as soon as I ran that program, I'm like, all right, I'm going to launch it again. This time I'm going to go evergreen. You know, I learned what I needed to learn. I'm going to rebuild the program, and I'm going to do what I need to do, and I'm going to launch it evergreen. And so I did. I launched it evergreen right away. And I started doing live webinars to get people to enroll. And gosh, man, there was so much learning that came with that, detaching from specific things, and how to feel really confident what you're teaching, how to be okay with, you know, giving an offer, creating an offer and selling that, and, you know, how to keep consistent energy. I remember there would be some webinars where I enroll over 20%, and some webinars where I enroll nobody.
I remember our coaching conversations during that time.
Yes.
Like,
I'm
happening?
like, what the heck? And I was like, it's not the numbers, it's not this, it's not that. What could it be? And then I really honed in, and I was like, holy smokes, it's my energy. I am so inconsistent. Sometimes I'm showing up in full belief, and sometimes I'm not, and I'm feeling totally deflated. And I'm on this like ebb and flow. And so is my business, and so are my sales, you know? And once I was able to just see all those things and really learn how to, honestly, it was a bunch of self-compassion, like neutralize, love myself, grow from all of these things, the more my program grew. And, you know, I grew and I taught and I learned a ton. And here we are. I was just thinking yesterday, I did my last group coaching call for the calendar year because we're going into the holidays. And I have these women there, and I was like, okay, give us your biggest takeaways for the year. And the things they were sharing were like bringing me to tears. They're like, you have no idea how much you've impacted me, how this program has helped. And you know, like, and just examples, like I have one physician in the program who's like, I've tried everything. I could never leave my department with my charting done, and now I'm finally done. And just like so many different levels. I have a PhD in my program who wasn't able to get her grants in. She kept procrastinating. She's like, I did one coaching call with you, and I finished all my grants, and all of these things. Like, it's just like beautiful. And you know how it feels when your clients are giving you all these results. But I just realized like how grateful I am that I stuck with it, that I stayed in the game, that I kept going, that I was so committed and continued to take action. And honestly, you know, because you were with me along the way, there was times where I was so afraid. I was like, oh my God, what if I send this email and everybody unsubscribes from my list? It's so funny, the things that we put value on or stake on when you're on this journey, because there's just a lot of fear. And honestly, I had tied so much of my self-worth. This is like, you know, version whatever point oh ago before today. And I had tied so much of my self-worth to the success of my business. So much so that I never wanted to believe that my business was successful, because I was afraid that if I thought that, I would stop. working so hard. And I remember you were like, well, what does success mean? And I'm like, six figures. And then I've created six figures. I'm like, no, it needs to be like this or like that or
Yeah.
whatever. It was
Yeah.
just so silly. Right. And so anyway, it's just been such a beautiful growth opportunity for me.
You've been on such a journey. And I just, yeah, I'm getting flashes of so many coaching conversations and one-on-ones we've had during that time and through all of that. So where is the business today, Vanessa? So you've built this beautiful program, and I just want to echo like what you said with the client testimonials. You and I just recently were looking over just some of your assets, and you were sharing, you had this document where you're collecting, like you just started putting all of your client testimonials in it. And it really hit me because it was like pages of testimonials from clients and the most beautiful testimonials from your clients. And I just remember like I was like a proud mama. I was just like, my heart was so warmed, seeing that, because that's what it's about, right? It's about the impact. And it is about like what you said. Wow, you've got, the MD who could never get the charts done to doing that to all of these like big things that are going to change their life. And had you not stuck with it and done the work, and I just want to say to everybody, like Vanessa, you are such a great example, I think, of just being all in the work, like showing up to calls, like always ready to just put it out there, be vulnerable. Like, here's what's coming up for me. Like, please coach me on this. I need help. Right. And just really taking ownership of that and really just putting yourself all in. I just want to say that I so appreciate that. And that has been, such a beautiful thing to witness and a beautiful thing to work with as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you have created a beautiful program for so many high achievers. So like, tell us like about the program.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. I think for those of you listening, the thing that's going to help you accelerate your growth in all areas of your life is your ability to be honest with yourself, And I didn't know that's what I was doing when you kept saying that, you kept like, oh, you're so vulnerable. I'm like, I just want to solve this problem,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but it's true. I think I've been gifted with the ability to be coachable, to like put my shit
Absolutely.
out there and then have like hear the feedback and be like, damn, I didn't know that's what it was. I didn't know that's what I was missing, or like I didn't see that, and I really received that. And, you've said that so much to me that I've realized how important it is. And I actually share that with my students all of the time whenever they're joining the program. Yeah. So I think your question was tell you about my program. Yeah. So it's so awesome. It's such an awesome program. I love it so much. So it's so it's a 12-week program where, really smart women can come in and they essentially retrain their entire subconscious mind to learn how to be more effective and get more stuff done faster without stress, without burnout, without procrastinating, without self-sabotage, without all of those things. And, really what we're doing is the work in 4 different parts. We're retraining the subconscious mind. We're healing the brain and body from internalized depression, from generational trauma, ancestral trauma. And we're teaching women how to create these like beautiful, like resilient human bodies and minds. So we're teaching stress and resilience at a whole different level. And then we're teaching super simple, basic, and highly effective time management concepts. So all of these ways to be more effective. And by the time my students get to the time part, oh my gosh, it's like so obvious how simple it is, right?
Yeah.
But you had to, for a lot of my women, the women that I work with, you had to do all the other work before that was impactful. So it's 12 weeks and it's also lifetime, right? So the curriculum takes about 12 weeks, but students have access to everything for the rest of their lives because I don't want anyone to feel pressured or rushed or feel like they didn't have enough time. And I also know, like, I had one student, oh, she's so amazing. She joined, got everything she wanted in the first like 6 weeks of the program. And then I didn't see her for about a year. She comes back a year later because she got this huge promotion at work and now she's a leader and now she needs leadership coaching. And I didn't say this, or I sort of said this, but I have 20 years of leadership experience. So built into my program is a huge leadership bonus where you learn executive presence, negotiations, how to manage people, all the types of things that you need to be an effective leader.
Yeah.
So it was just awesome that she came back and she was there for that,
Yeah. And to support her through that next phase of her journey is amazing. And you're on your way. You've created such a beautiful community. And the best part is now it's really set up to grow even bigger and to continue to get out in a bigger and bigger way. So let's just kind of give everybody a sense. So when we started working together, you were working with one-on-one clients, kind of here and there, didn't really want to be, but that's kind of where you were at in the business to now
And
you've
super
got
like in a blue space, disappointed and depressed and like underneath my covers. Yes, that's where we were when we started.
yeah. To now you can hear Vanessa, and if you could see her, I mean, she's just glowing, just so beautiful to witness all of it. So just give us a sense, whatever you're comfortable sharing, from just like a financial standpoint, from like a revenue standpoint, like what is the difference today
Yeah.
versus then?
Probably like a 16x growth in revenue. You know, I actually haven't done the numbers, but it's something like that. And, you know, one thing I didn't mention in this program is that on the side, I've contracted with organizations to coach physicians. And so I had my first contract this year and it was incredibly successful. We ran it through data. It was so successful and the results were so profound that we published a research article that's about to be published in a scientific journal right now. And that contract got doubled for next year.
Amazing.
So I just, from a revenue standpoint, I don't want to say it's a joke, but it's like, it's a little silly. You know, I think my very first year in business, I think I made like $5,000 or something like that. Or maybe 5,700. I don't remember. And then, the second year it was like a 10x growth. And the year after that, it was like another 2x growth and then like another 10x growth. And every year it's just been exponentially bigger. It's so silly. It's not silly, but it's kind of funny to see it graphed out. Like if I'm looking at Kajabi, for example, or my payment methods, and when I see my income, it's like, wow, this is not very linear. You know, it's not like, and the truth is that everyone's growth is going to happen when it happens, you know, and I think some people come into this work thinking that it's like some simple overnight success, you know, and I know that's the belief that I had when I started, because that's what had been, at least those are the stories that I was taking in, you know, and making my reality, because they're probably the loudest online, you know, and so, and what I want to say is that is possible. And also, you will be successful if you don't quit. Like the success is inevitable as long as you're committed and consistent, you know? Someone did this article in Forbes, and the question was, how do you know when to quit? And I think people love reading that because everybody wants an excuse to quit, I think. So they're like, how do I know when to quit? And I so loved the answer. The answer was, when you have tried everything that's out there, and then you went back out and found out what you were missing and tried all of that, and you did that at least 2 or 3 times, and you were 100% committed. You had nothing in the back door. You weren't like, if this doesn't work out, I'll do this. When you have done all of that, then you can come back and ask the question again. They don't even say then quit, then just say then ask the question again.
Yeah, not even quit, but just ask the question. That is so good. That is so, so true. We talk about this a lot, but I want to just pause here, because what is available to all of us right now, it is mind-blowing to think that we can create a business where we can work anywhere in the world. We can teach anybody in the world. We can connect with anybody in the world. And we have unlimited earning potential. We have the ability to set our own hours. We have the ability to take 2 weeks off for the holidays, or, you know, whatever that looks like, and to do work that changes lives. And we've talked about this, Vanessa, but like this was something that our parents didn't have available. Like one generation away that did not have this ability. It did not exist.
Yeah. You know, there's this concept of disruptors, right? Like, who disrupt the airline industry? Southwest. Who disrupt the cell phone industry? iPhone. Disruptors, this idea that you're doing something so far off the mainstream, but you believe in it so wholeheartedly. And what we're able to do now with the access of the internet and this global kind of connection, human connection globally, this global reach, is really disrupting corporate America and the old way of doing things, that old structure, so much so that, you know, there was a time before COVID and a time after COVID. And I think most people are going to see their lives that way. But the time like during COVID, the human brain is incredibly resilient. We were born to survive, you know? And so what did people do during COVID? They figured out how to make things work, and they had to make it work online, and they had to make money somehow. And online businesses grew significantly during COVID because it was the time of the online business, as did people of color's business, as did, you know, like that was the time. And things will never go back to the way they were before. And the more we can lean into this disruption and really just like also enjoy the fruits of what's coming for us, because this is so unique. If you are a woman, if you're a person of color, if you are a parent, like what this affords you, the level of flexibility, of growth, of reach, of impact, it's like nothing out there. And of course, it takes a specific spirit, right? It takes an entrepreneurial spirit, and not everybody has that. But if you're listening to this podcast, you have it, or else you wouldn't be listening to this podcast.
Right.
The only thing holding you back is fear.
Absolutely. That's it. And it's the decision to not quit. It's the decision to every day, and maybe not even every day, but the majority of the time, to at least be continually taking one step forward, right? Be creating whatever it is that you need to create to move things forward.
Yeah. I say committed, consistent, and aligned action. Mm-hmm. And consistent can be whatever you mean, once a day, once a week. But taking action once a week for the rest of your life is going to move the needle significantly. Doing it multiple times a week, can you imagine? Yeah. So it's just like, committed, consistent, and aligned action, aligned to where you want to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to emphasize too, when I look at your journey, just being witness to all of this, that is one thing that you've been so good at, I think been such a great example of, is just staying the course and staying focused and not, and yeah, there were times where maybe we were off a little bit. That's okay. That's what happens. But your commitment to creating this program, your commitment to creating this community, your commitment to creating this vision and bringing this to life is what has now created you sitting here today, us having this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, the container that you created, Amanda, to allow us to do that, because it's an illusion to assume, if you're coming from a place of like hyper independence, like I was, I had to really let go of the illusion that whatever I create alone. And yeah, I do the work and I'm a hard worker, whatever. All of those things are true. And also, you create in community for the betterment of community. You're creating for the betterment of everyone. And I think one of the gifts of being part of your mastermind is that you're in a group with other incredible human beings, and they're just so beautiful and supportive, and everyone cheers each other on. And there's no sense, or at least I didn't feel any sense of like competition. Competition is also an illusion. It's so silly. There is no, people think that in life there's win or win-lose, but no, there's win or lose. Because if somebody else is losing, you're also losing. And when somebody else wins, you're also winning. And that's it, And so like, I think you did such a beautiful job of curating that space for us. We didn't talk about your retreats, but Amanda has a number of retreats throughout the year, one of them being in person. Yeah. And one of my co-masterminders in our group calls it the manifestation portal. And I just think it's like such a beautiful thing for her to say, because I think the energy you carry and you hold in that space is just transformative. It's why we go into that space and leave different people, committed to taking action. And like, it's really beautiful. And so I appreciate your acknowledgments of me, and I receive them. And I'm also so grateful for the container that you've created for all of this, to happen, to be possible.
Oh, thank you so much. And every time I walk out of those retreats, every time I physically walk away, that is my takeaway, is wow. Like literally, I watch transformation happen. And it's a very profound thing. And also, I think one of the reasons why we're able to create the level of success, right? Because I was thinking about this the other day. When I look at what we're doing, like what I really love doing, it's like the whole breaking the 4-minute mile type thing. That is what I love, is helping my clients break through things that they never thought they could break through. Like knowing that it's possible, seeing that vision and helping them arrive there, helping them get there.
Yeah, what a gift, right? It's like, I just think it's such a gift to hold space for people's transformation. It's like you see their possibility, you see my possibility, you see our possibilities, and to just hold space for that. Because really, I think what most students, human beings, clients need is belief, someone to believe in them, someone give them the space to get out of their own way, Let me help you get out of your own way by untangling that thought error you have, that limiting belief you have, this, that, whatever, and giving you the tools that you need to achieve. So I was reflecting on how amazing it has been to work with you. And I think there are 3 things you do so well, the mindset. yes, the container, like the energy, the space you carry, but also like actions. It's like, oh, Facebook ads, here you go. Oh, webinar, here you go. Oh, this, here you go. Or this. And I really think that's kind of the trifecta, right? It's like, for all of those, especially if you're new to the game of entrepreneurship, it's really helpful to know exactly what actions you're going to take, to be able to like get the mindset coaching, because as we all know, I remember Amy Porterfield, who I love so much. She had said once recently how, she's been in this game for about 13 years. And she had said that she didn't start respecting mindset as being important until 10 years in. And she was like, man, had I known that in the beginning, like, what would I be today?
Yeah.
Because I think for a lot of people, you're coming from one school of thought or the other, where it's like belief mindset or the other way, right? And it's really the beautiful, like the infinite game of life is this balance of everything.
Absolutely.
One of the balances being mindset and action taking, right?
Yeah. And I talk about that all the time, and the importance of that in the container of entrepreneurship in business. The business needs that structure. The business does need the strategy. The business does need you as the person that's building it, that's the creator, that's the visionary, that is the owner of it, the leader of it. It needs you to know these things, and to think that it's just going to happen and appear by, manifesting through thought alone is not what happens. We know that, right? So yeah, I mean, there's a place and a time. And I think you'd agree, like, we are always dancing. I find that we're always dancing in between all of it, right? Sometimes we might be more in the mindset. We might be having something that's really challenging that we need to unpack, that we need to untangle, that we need to just stop right there and just do that for a minute. And there's other times where it's like, okay, let's pull up the sales page here. Let's pull up the webinar. Let's review. Let's look at the data.
Oh my gosh. Let's look at the numbers.
Let's look at the numbers, right?
Yes.
How many times? And there needs to be space for all of it, because all of it matters.
Yeah.
And what I find in this industry is I think sometimes we're falling too far on the side of one or the other. And what I really try to be intentional about is bringing both together, because I do believe that it's required. So that's a really good distinction. Okay. All right. Well, we have so much more to talk about, Vanessa, but what would you say? I mean, we've talked about the progression and just the growth of business. I mean, you're at such a different point in the business today. I mean, so many amazing things have been created. And what would you say? Like, one question I have for you is, what do you think about, like, when you think about taking it to the next level, like 7 figures, for example, your business, what comes up for you?
It's going to happen like very soon. I mean, that's probably, it feels so inevitable. Like,
Yeah.
And it's not even, I don't even think it's like a topic of discussion. It's like one of those things that's so simple and obvious, that I'm like, oh yeah.
And the reason I ask this question is because I know you now see that. And I know that, like, you're so certain of that. And I know, like, that's where you're at. And that I want to be a demonstration for everybody listening, that you can go from, I don't know if I should do this, to under the covers, right? To now, in just literally, we're talking a 2-year time frame. Oh, 7 figures. It's not even a conversation. It's happening very soon. And there's a knowing. It's not just a belief. It's an actual knowing now, which is very different.
Yeah, it's so true. I think that what you just said, the knowing, most of us have, like, if I was to ask somebody their gender and they felt affirmed in whatever gender they have, it would be a knowing. Like, yeah, I'm a girl. Or like, yeah, I was born in blah, blah. Those things are called knowings. And then there's like these things outside of us, these beliefs.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's fascinating. I remember hearing, oh gosh, I can't remember where I heard this, but it was this like very obvious, like, when people start to jump in their business goals and entrepreneurship, and you ask them, how did they know? Their answer is always like, oh, what was different or whatever. And they were like, oh yeah, I just knew. And I remember asking Sarah, one of our other masterminders, when she hit 7 figures, I was like, what happened? She's like, oh, I just knew. I just decided and I just knew. And it's such an interesting, because it's kind of ethereal, like it's just, but it's just a knowing. Yeah. So
yeah, it's a knowing. It's a knowing. And that has come, you are here today being able to know that because of all of the things that we just talked about, the commitment, right?
Yeah.
Like staying the course and showing up, being coachable,
Yeah. And
doing the
crying
work.
a lot and being really
Right.
afraid and being really scared and having to lean into courage a lot and really just like being pissed a lot and also being kind to myself a lot. Like, and the thing I think that I'm probably the most proud of is not just that I stayed with it, not just that I didn't quit, not all of that, yes, but also that the more that I grew my business, the more that I transformed, the more that I realized how important all of my life was, not just one part of my life. Whereas
Yes.
before entrepreneurship, I kind of knew that, but I still wasn't living those values. And
Mhm.
now, just the whole entire structure of my life, like how beautiful and intimate my marriage is, my relationship with my kids, and how solid that is. I'm at my peak physical and mental health. I'm training just for fun.
Yeah.
I was running intervals yesterday, and I was like, wow, I'm so fast. I'm like running so much
Good.
faster. And it's like all these little things, and it's not a place to brag, but just kind of like a reminder that what
Yeah.
really matters in life is all of it. It's not one area of our life. And I think for me, I'm like looking around right now and just so grateful of what I have created,
Mhm.
just so grateful that I really prioritized and spent time with the things that really matter to me. And I did all of that with my business, not because I spent all my time building my business, but because
Right.
I spent my time building my life.
That is so beautiful. And I can remember one of our retreats, you having the thought, the belief that you couldn't build the business or that it was going to require so much from you that was going to take away from other parts of your life. And I remember
Yeah.
the challenge being, what if it was actually the opposite? And what if the business also allowed you to really live the life? And here we are.
You're right. I didn't remember that. That's right. Yeah, all of these limiting beliefs that we come with. So when you start working with Amanda, you'll show up with these like things that you think are true. It's so funny now that I think about it, because I still find limiting beliefs in my brain and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
man, that's so funny. But we show up with these limiting beliefs that just like have been programmed into our brains by society. Like it has to be hard. You have to be busy. You have to give up on being a mom or whatever to do these things. And that's all just BS. It's all made up,
Totally.
And so
Yeah.
glad I got that shit out of my brain. You know what I'm saying?
Now we're just on to the next level of it, right?
Yeah.
Just a different,
Yeah,
different
there's
version of
more. Oh, yeah, for
it.
sure. And
Always.
that's the thing. Like every time you evolve, there's going to be more stuff to uncover. I think
Yeah,
that's one of the most beautiful journeys that there's nowhere you're getting to. You're always evolving.
totally. Totally. So with that, what are you working on now, Vanessa? What's next? What's next for Vanessa?
What's next? So, really growing a really big, beautiful team that's supportive. I've really honed into the 20% of activities that I do that create the biggest results in my business and spending my time only doing that and handing off everything else to my team. And really thinking about, simplifying the programs and the products that I offer so that I can just blow those out of the water, and letting that happen with ease and with so much fun. It's so much fun now, just knowing that you can grow a business and it doesn't have to be serious and it can be fun and
Yeah.
it can be a reflection of your authentic self. And by that, I mean like in integrity with who you are. So I'm someone that's silly and I love to have fun. And I'm also incredibly vulnerable and emotional. And my business is a reflection of all that. It's like a beautiful space to, create transformation, but it's also so much fun, and I just like that's what I'm creating. And I'm just so grateful.
So good. So exciting. What advice would you have for anybody there's so many coaches out there who want to serve at the highest level, that want to serve so many clients, that want to do this work and have created so much success already in their lives. And there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of doubt and all of the things. So what advice would you have for them?
Yeah, great question. I'd say that if you have that wanting inside of your body, your brain, your spirit, your soul, if you have that desire, it's because it was meant to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would just say, listen to it because it's when we get in trouble in life, when we start feeling unfulfilled, some people use the word stuck, the midlife crisis, all those types of things. When that happens, it's when we've had these desires that we've ignored. And
Yeah.
so I'd say that if you have that, listen to it because, again, like I said in the beginning, there are a trillion different ways to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And fear will show up. And what you got to do is listen to it. Is the fear telling you something that's reasonable or irrational? Most of the fears we have are irrational fears that are not even going to come true. And sometimes they're based on like, hey, I'm a single mom and I need to make sure that I'm providing for my family. And if that's the case, let's figure out a way for you to build a business around your schedule. Because the truth is, like, honest to God, if you believe in a spirit or source or something higher than you, like, it can be done. It can be done. I have full faith that if you have the desire and the wanting, and it's coming from a place of service, that you can 1,000,000% do it in a way that serves your life.
So good. All right, Vanessa, where can everybody follow you? Where can everybody find you? Tell us all the things.
Yeah, I'm at Vanessa Calderon MD. On Instagram is where I spend most of my time, at Vanessa Calderon MD. And you can find me on my website, vanessacalderonmd.com.
So good. And we'll put that, of course, in the show notes. What a beautiful conversation. Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the $1 Million Coach Business Podcast. If you're ready to step into the $1 million version of yourself and scale your business to 6, multi-6, or 7 figures and beyond, go to amandakarlstadcoaching.com.